If you grew up in the 1960s, you experienced a world that today's kids would find absolutely unrecognizable. The internet didn't exist, smartphones were science fiction, and the way we communicated, played, and learned was completely different. Some of these changes have been for the better, but let's be honest, there's something nostalgic about the simpler times of our youth. Join us as we take a trip down memory lane and explore 20 things that only American kids who grew up in the 60s will truly understand. For over 2 decades, cigarette ads were everywhere on American television. Tobacco companies spent millions creating slick, sophisticated commercials that made smoking look glamorous, classy, and completely harmless. These ads featured movie stars, athletes, and everyday folks puffing away without a care in the world. As the 60s progressed and evidence mounted about smoking's dangers, the ads became even more deceptive, promoting new, filtered brands as if that made them safe. But the commercials never mentioned health risks, leaving viewers completely in the dark about the true dangers of tobacco. By the late 1960s, Congress finally took action. The link between cigarettes and diseases like lung cancer and heart disease was undeniable, so they banned cigarette commercials from the airwaves entirely. The ban took effect in early 1971, marking the end of an era. Today's kids will never understand flipping on the TV and seeing someone casually lighting up a cigarette during prime time. Saturday morning cartoons weren't just about entertainment. They came with important messages too. Public service announcements were woven right into our cartoon time, teaching us valuable lessons between episodes of our favorite shows. The most famous was Smokey Bear, who looked us right in the eye and said, "Only you can prevent forest fires." These weren't sales pitches. They were lessons in citizenship, environmental responsibility, and making good choices. The cartoons became vehicles for sharing important values, encouraging young viewers to be mindful of their actions and make positive contributions to society. With gas prices incredibly low in the 1960s, families could afford to just drive around for fun. The Sunday drive was a beloved tradition. Pile everyone in the car and explore the countryside, check out new neighborhoods, or just cruise the scenic routes. America was building highways like crazy during this era, and families took full advantage. We'd drive to state parks, head to the beach, or spend evenings at the drive-in theater, watching movies from the comfort of our car. The combination of affordable gas, accessible automobiles, and expanding road networks made these outings an integral part of American family culture. Today's kids, calculating gas prices and planning routes on GPS, can't imagine just driving around aimlessly for entertainment. Here's something that'll blow young minds. Phone numbers used to start with names, not numbers. From the 1930s through the 60s, the first 2 letters of a word represented the first 2 digits on your phone dial. These weren't just identifiers. They told you what part of the city someone lived in. Ever wonder why phone keypads still have letters on the buttons? That's a holdover from these old alphanumeric phone numbers. In the 60s, the phone companies switched to an all-number system, ditching those charming prefixes. In San Francisco, a group called the Anti-Digit Dialing League actually protested this change, arguing it dehumanized the phone system. They wanted to keep the personality of named exchanges instead of cold, impersonal numbers. Speaking of phones, imagine sharing your phone line with several neighbors. That was reality with party lines. Each house had a special ring pattern so you knew when a call was for you. But here's the catch. Anyone on the party line could pick up and listen to your conversation. Privacy? What privacy? Your neighbor could be eavesdropping on your chat with your best friend or your first love. These party lines were especially common in rural areas and small towns through the middle of the 20th century. As technology improved and individual phone lines became affordable, party lines thankfully faded away. But if you grew up in the 60s, you probably remember the anxiety of wondering who might be listening in. Before computers, if you wanted to type something, you used a manual typewriter with an ink ribbon. These ribbons didn't last forever. They'd wear out, and you'd have to replace them. And let me tell you, changing a typewriter ribbon was messy business. You had to be incredibly careful not to get ink all over your fingers and clothes. It was a frustrating, hands-on process that's worlds away from today's clean computer keyboards and printer cartridges. The simple act of changing ink ribbons was once a regular chore that every typist had to master. Long before Google Maps, finding your way around required actual skills. We unfolded giant paper maps, wrote down turn-by-turn directions from services like MapQuest when it finally came along, or relied on asking locals for help. We'd look for physical landmarks, pay close attention to road signs, and some people even had special GPS devices just for navigation. Reading a map was a genuine skill. You had to understand coordinates, orient yourself properly, and trace routes with your finger. Getting lost was a real possibility, and figuring out how to get unlost was part of the adventure. Before photocopiers revolutionized offices, there was carbon paper, a seemingly magical invention that let you make instant copies. You'd sandwich a sheet of carbon paper between your original document and a blank sheet. When you wrote or typed on top, the carbon paper transferred the impression to the sheet below, creating a duplicate. It wasn't as quick or easy as modern photocopying, but carbon paper got the job done for important documents, receipts, and forms. It was simple, clever, and absolutely essential in the pre-digital office world. Imagine this. You're watching TV, and suddenly everything stops for the night. No more programs until tomorrow. That's exactly what happened in the 1960s. Television stations would sign off, often playing the national anthem or showing a test pattern to signal bedtime. Today's kids with their 24/7 streaming services and endless content can't fathom the idea of TV just ending for the day. But that cozy little ritual of signing off was how we knew it was time to call it a night. Need to write a school report? You couldn't just Google it. You had to crack open those massive encyclopedia sets. These thick, heavy books contained facts on everything from the moon landing to the Beatles, all organized alphabetically. Research meant flipping through pages, scanning articles, and taking handwritten notes. It was time-consuming and required patience, but it was our only option. Unlike today's instant information, using encyclopedias was a hands-on adventure in learning that taught us research skills and persistence. In offices across America, adding machines with paper rolls were the calculators of the day. These bulky, clunky machines would print every number and calculation on a long strip of paper, like a never-ending receipt. There was no delete button. Make a mistake? Start over from scratch. No digital screens, no saved work, just you, the machine, and that paper roll documenting every step of your math. It's hard to imagine doing business calculations this way now, but these machines were cutting-edge technology in the 60s. When soda cans first got pull tabs in the early 60s, they seemed convenient, until everyone realized the environmental nightmare they created. The entire tab would detach from the can, and people just dropped them everywhere. Streets, parks, beaches, pull tabs littered the landscape. Eventually, someone invented the modern pop-top that stays attached to the can, dramatically reducing litter. If you grew up in the 60s, you remember those old pull tabs and probably stepped on a few barefoot, too. In classrooms across America, the film strip projector was high-tech educational equipment. These devices displayed a series of still images on a screen while the teacher manually advanced each frame, explaining the content as they went. Compared to today's digital presentations with videos and interactive elements, film strips seem incredibly primitive. But back then, seeing those colorful images projected on the screen felt special. It meant we were learning something important in a modern way. Every morning, like clockwork, the milkman would deliver fresh milk in glass bottles right to your doorstep. Families could count on finding their milk waiting in the milk box, chilled and ready for breakfast. This charming service eliminated trips to the store and provided a reliable source of fresh dairy. The glass bottles were reusable and eco-friendly. While this tradition has mostly disappeared, those who remember the milkman's deliveries hold fond memories of this simpler, more personal time when a wholesome staple arrived at your door each day. Want to talk to your friend or distant relative? You sat down with pen, paper, and stamps to write a letter. This wasn't just communication, it was an art form. You carefully chose your words, addressed the envelope, added postage, and mailed it off. Then came the waiting, days or weeks for a reply, which made receiving mail incredibly exciting. Letters allowed us to share experiences, express deep emotions, and maintain relationships across long distances in a heartfelt, personal way that texts and emails can't quite replicate. Record players in the 60s had a special feature that kids today would find baffling: speed settings. Records came in 3 speeds: 33, 45, and 78 revolutions per minute. Each speed was designed for different types of records. The 33 revolutions per minute was for full albums, 45 revolutions per minute for singles with hit songs, and 78 revolutions per minute for those really old-school records. You had to match the speed to the record type, or the music would sound completely wrong, either chipmunk fast or sloth slow. Getting it just right was like unlocking a secret code to make the music sound perfect. Soda fountains weren't just places to get a fizzy drink, they were where life happened. Usually found in drugstores or diners, these spots featured long counters with shiny stools and a soda jerk who'd craft your drink with artistic flair. You could customize your soda with different flavored syrups, cherry, vanilla, or a custom mix. But more importantly, soda fountains were where friends gathered, couples shared sundaes, and communities bonded. They were the coffee shops of their day, the social media before social media existed. While they've largely disappeared, replaced by Starbucks and fast food chains, the nostalgic charm of those 60s soda fountains remains a sweet memory. In the 60s, nobody thought twice about grabbing the garden hose and blasting the driveway clean with water. It was routine maintenance. Spray away the dirt, leaves, and stains with a strong stream of water until everything looked fresh. Today, this practice is discouraged due to water conservation concerns. We now understand the environmental impact of casually wasting water, and alternative methods like brooms or electric pressure washers are recommended. But back then, hosing down the driveway on a Saturday morning was just what you did. No guilt, no second thoughts. Here's a quirky practice that seems bizarre today: collecting green stamps while shopping. Certain stores would give you these stamps as a bonus with purchases, and you'd save them in special booklets like a tangible rewards program. Once you collected enough stamps, you could redeem them for household items, appliances, or even furniture. People carefully arranged and counted their stamps, turning shopping into a little adventure with actual rewards you could hold in your hands. It was gamification before anyone knew what gamification was. The pogo stick was the toy in the 1960s, simple, challenging, and endlessly entertaining. Just a metal pole, a foot rest, and a spring at the bottom, but it provided hours of outdoor fun. Mastering the pogo stick required rhythm, balance, and determination. Kids would practice for hours, competing to see who could bounce highest or longest without falling. It wasn't about screens or batteries. It was about physical skill and persistence. The pogo stick represents everything about childhood in the 60s. Outdoor play, physical challenges, and simple joys that didn't require electricity or Wi-Fi. Growing up in the 1960s meant experiencing a world that's now almost unimaginable to younger generations. These weren't just products or practices. They were the fabric of our daily lives, shaping how we communicated, played, learned, and connected with each other. While technology has brought incredible advances, there's something special about the tangible, slower-paced world we knew as kids in the 60s. Those memories are precious pieces of our childhood that we'll always treasure.